So if anybody's watching this on a replay, I'm just going to do another Q&A if anybody has any questions about anxiety. I always find it easy to kind of just answer anyone's questions as we're kind of live. Good to see you, PM. Good to see you, Steph, Jane, Lester. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Good to see you, Beth. Good to see you, Hina. Good to see you, Emmy. Good to see you, Michelle. And there's no real focus of today's kind of a conversation. Just again, just answering any questions that people have. Hey, Steph. As I was saying, it's always a lot easier, and I'd much rather kind of like have a conversation, because there's a lot of things that about anxiety that's just misunderstood. A lot of people just don't understand things, and it's kind of like even the advice out there isn't even that great. How to deal with overthinking? Overthinking is underfeeling. So imagine that when you're feeling anxious and your kind of mind's just overthinking, it's a symptom of your nervous system being in the yellow zone of sympathetic activation. I call it the yellow zone. It's essentially the fight and flight response. And that's what anxiety is as well. When we stop seeing anxiety as like this condition or this label, and instead we just recognize that it's just a very, very normal symptom of your nervous system dysregulation and being in that fight and flight state. So how to deal with it? To get out of your head and get into your body. So this is why I use a somatic approach. Somatic essentially means body-based. And essentially you need to kind of get out of your head and into your body. And the reason why you're overthinking in the first place is because at some point you was connected to your body, you was feeling the feelings or feeling the intensity of whatever experience that you was having, and your body just disconnected. So when you become disconnected from your body and your body can't speak to you, the only way it can speak to you is through these intrusive thoughts. And these are thoughts that you're not choosing to think. For example, if I was sitting here thinking, what should I cook for dinner, or, whatever thought that I'm thinking about, that's a conscious thinking decision. But any thoughts you're having which kind of just popping up, it's coming from your subconscious mind, if that's an easier concept, or essentially coming from your body. And the reason why we're typically overthinking these things is because we're stuck in the head and we're not in the body, but the thing that you're thinking about as well, your body wants you to feel a certain way about. So typically it's, fear-based, or, shame or embarrassment or kind of judgment. But typically the thought we're having is what we're not feeling through in the body. And that's why your body's trying to get you to think about it, if that makes sense. But essentially just kind of getting out of your head into your body, using the somatic exercises. That's what we do in the Monday and Thursday sessions. That's going to be like taking care of your kind of mental health on a day-to-day basis, on a regular basis. This is why sometimes I think a lot of people don't understand things, because anxiety isn't, like I said, that's not like some diagnosis, like just some condition that you were just now diagnosed with and you're stuck with. It's just a result of your nervous system being overly sort of stressed, and this could be present stress just from present life building up. It can also be past stress, so triggers and things where you've been overwhelmed in the past, and the energy still sitting inside your body. So regardless of whatever is creating anxiety, the answer to basically regulate and release it is the same. And if I never take care of my body, if I'm very sedentary, if I'm never in my body, if I'm just in my head all day long, naturally it's going to lead to anxiety, because we can't release anxiety in the head. We can only release it in the body, which is why a somatic approach is the best approach for anxiety. But yeah, it's, again, those Monday and Thursday sessions, they're like a lifesaver, because what they're doing essentially is my emotional maintenance and my members' emotional maintenance. And then that kind of keeps them on top of things. That's what a lot of members have found. They found that they will be doing it and they may think, oh my God, I'm not really noticing that much difference or not much change. But then when they don't come to the sessions, they recognize that the anxiety starts coming back, because all it means is that your stress is building up in your life again, or in your body at least, and there's not enough kind of conscious release. Because the thing is, we all know what we should be doing. It's the same with like getting in shape. We all know what we should be doing to look good, to be healthy, and take care of ourselves. Do we actually do it? Do we make those choices? No. And that's why we kind of aren't kind of where we want to be. It's the same thing with the nervous system. If I leave the accountability to you to take care of yourself, or even for myself, right? If I didn't have those Monday and Thursday sessions booked in where I had to show up because everybody's expecting me to be there, I probably wouldn't take care of myself anywhere near as well. But that's why those habits and the accountability is really what you're paying for, and the co-regulation from me doing it with you, rather than the actual exercise in itself. Any other questions? I'm just going to go from everything is underfeeling. Yeah, that's just think of it like that. If you're in your head, you're kind of not in your body. Essentially, my process has 3 steps: get out of your head and into your body. So reconnect, step 1. Step 2 is regulates. That means controlling the intensity of what you're experiencing and signaling safety in your body, like regulating your nervous system, turning the alarm off. And then finally, release. So if your body's at a 10 out of 10, you're not going to feel comfortable surrendering into that and releasing it. You don't feel comfortable just to allow the energy to move through you because it's just way too intense, the current level of the intensity. So first you need to bring the intensity down. That's what regulating is. And you can learn how to do this. You can control the energy flow of your body and the stress in your body. And say if you take it down from a 10 to like a 5 even, it's going to feel a lot more comfortable to relax and surrender and let go of control. So that's how we release at a much lower intensity. So again, reconnect your body, learn the skills to regulate, to basically control the intensity of experience, and then learn how to trust your body and surrender and let go of control. Now, it's really hard to do on your own because your body's telling you that that feeling inside isn't safe. And that's why people get stuck, because their body's trying to move towards going through their natural release process. This is what's built inside you. But there's parts of you going, oh, this isn't safe. It's not safe to be vulnerable. It's not safe to let go of control. I'm not worthy of receiving love. All these kind of patterns and beliefs block your natural release process. And then all the energies are building up inside you. And that's why we're leading to more and more anxiety. When I feel low, either I eat a lot and sleep or a lot, or the opposite, I can't sleep or eat. So I've found that when people are eating and they're kind of like, imagine people like emotional eating, I believe it's a way for the body to try to reconnect. So if I'm in my body and I'm eating and I'm chewing and I'm digesting, it's a very embodied activity. And what it's trying to do is it's almost like it's trying to put you into that rest and digest mode. But this is why, because it's a state of disconnection, what I call the red zone, it's like you're not connected to your body. So this is where we're kind of generally overeating and emotional eating, where we're not even hungry. That's definitely one of my patterns, that I'll want to eat something. I feel like I'm looking for something, but I'm not actually hungry. And in those moments, if you want to stop the pattern, it's just asking yourself that question, like, am I actually hungry in this moment? And if it's not, then that's a cue for you to recognize that maybe it's one of your ways that you deal with stress. And then that's an invitation for you then to reconnect your body and see what's going on, or see what you're feeling. And then with the sleep, is again, we want to shut down. So in the red zone, we want to disconnect, we want to isolate, we need to like hibernate and kind of like recover and recharge. Now in the yellow zone of activation, this is typically when we have that kind of nervous belly, or when you feel like you can't eat. I'm sure many people have experienced this. If you've ever been through like a breakup and you just completely lose your appetite, that's because your body's kind of in that real high kind of stress state. And obviously when you're in an activated state of high activation, high energy, your mind is in go mode. It's not in rest mode, or not even just immobilization. You're mobilizing with energy. So both of those responses is if you can recognize what nervous system state you're in, it generally gives you an invitation of how to explore it. So if you're disconnected, again, the first step is to reconnect to your body. And as you reconnect to your body, especially if you're doing things like breath work or any kind of somatic exercises, what you're likely to notice is you're actually likely to move into activation, because that's the next natural step of the release process. But what happens is, as you move into your body and you notice all the activation that's there, it's typically when people freak out, because that's when they experience panic attacks, because it's like they come back into the body and it comes out of nowhere. Really what's happening is you're reconnecting to your body, where all that energy and stress and emotions is still inside there because you haven't learned to release it. So from when you disconnected before, once you reconnect to your body, the same story is still there, the same energy and emotions are still there. And then people freak out, and they basically then just get caught in this trap of just disconnecting, reconnecting, getting overwhelmed, disconnecting, reconnecting, overwhelmed. And this is just a function of your nervous system. It doesn't matter what's caused it, whether it's things from the past, things from the present, most likely both. It's the same story with everyone. Your experiences may be unique in terms of what you've experienced, but how your body responds is exactly the same pretty much as everyone else's body. Everybody have different flavors of how their body responds and how their nervous system responds to stress and how their body deals with trauma and things like that. But there's only so many kind of variables and so many choices, and it's just learning and understanding your body, and then learning exactly what it is, the skills you need to practice to allow that to unfold. And essentially that's what I kind of teach people. Just build those skills, everything's going to fall into place. So again, it's the 3 skills: the ability to reconnect to your body. That means getting out of your head into your body. So I could ask you, if you're watching this, how easy is it for you to get out of your head? Or that when you're having one of those thoughts, how easy it is for you to stop that thought? Impossible for most people. So for most people, they're at like level 1, that, people kind of focusing on like, the last stage. The first skill is practicing how to just get out of your head, get into your body, to reconnect with your body and recognize what you're feeling. Once you can reconnect to your body, you're going to start to feel stuff. And when you start to feel it, it's going to be very uncomfortable for you because you don't know how to regulate. So obviously energy and emotions and stress and stuff is built up inside your body. The skill of being able to regulate is a life skill. Same way that if I'm walking through a dodgy area and I see some shifty people about, I don't want to be, high activation. I want to be ready still. I don't want to be so relaxed either, like I'm chilling on the beach. I want to be ready, but I want to be relaxed. So if your nervous system is balanced and you can regulate, in most situations, you're going to be ready to deal with the situation, but you're going to be relaxed. Most people are either too relaxed, but they're not ready to deal with the situation, or they're so ready that they're like, bursting with energy that they feel, oh, I'm going to do something now, and they're not relaxed at all. So again, to reconnect and to regulate, the second skill. Once you can regulate and you can control the intensity, guess what? You're going to feel a lot more comfortable surrendering into your body and your feelings if you know that you can control it. If you know that you can move away from it, and that's what regulating your nervous system is. It's basically learning how to navigate your nervous system, create safety in your body, move towards resources, move towards your kind of triggers and your pains when you feel ready to, and then how to kind of adjust and how to control that. And that's a skill that I kind of teach my clients and practice with the membership. The third part is release. So again, you're not going to feel very comfortable completely releasing. Release requires surrender. It's not surrendering to me, anything like that. It's surrendering to yourself. So just trusting your body. Your body knows how to heal. This is like a natural thing that the body does. Same way that if anybody has ever had a dog or even seen dogs, sometimes a dog will have a bit of a stressful interaction with another dog. Then they'll shake it all out. And they just shake the stress out, and then there may be a little bit of activation still stuck in their body nerve system. But if they can kind of release it all, they go back to playing, not long after. So that's, again, we can release, but we have to feel safe to trust that process. And if you've never learned that process because it's an embodied skill, you're not going to be very good at it. Same way that I've never flown a helicopter. I'm pretty sure if I tried to fly the helicopter, I'm probably going to kill myself. I'm probably not going to do very well. Again, when we look at things as just skills aren't about perfecting. It's about practicing to make progress with any skill, with anything you do in your life. So they're the 3 skills: to reconnect, regulate, and release. And that's what my method's all about, kind of practicing. It's never a case of if this stuff works, it's literally just a case of when. Once your skills get to a certain level, literally the more you release, the more your symptoms will decrease. And that's it. And then as long as you then continue to take care of yourself, I'm moving into activation in the inner zone. How can I self-regulate? How to control the intensity where it feels okay to be here, or bring myself back into connection when I feel ready to do that as well. Hope that's kind of made sense. Again, I'm going to go through any questions hopefully that's made sense. I'm going to go through any other questions if there are any more. I can't seem to begin any somatic relief as I'm too afraid of emotional release. So this is the point. Is there any way to help me, sort of like a step 1 approach? So I may have already inadvertently answered that question just from kind of what I was saying before. But this is why I have the approach that I have now. So I'm showing you many different sort of trauma release techniques or trauma focused therapies, things like EMDR, a lot of the eye movement therapies, havening, all these sort of things where people see it as like a somatic release or somatic sort of trauma releasing techniques. I'm trained, or at least kind of studied a lot of them. And for many of them, the problem isn't the technique or the thing, because many things can work. The issue is that people aren't resourced enough, or their capacity isn't high enough to go through the process yet. So if you imagine to process or to release the energy and trauma inside your body, you have to feel through it. Imagine it being like a energy moving through a tunnel. If you press the button and just allowed all the energy to move through your body, you're going to be overwhelmed like crazy. And maybe you don't have the resources to deal with it. But there's a way to learn it. So what I've learned, and this is from over the years of actually getting results for people, but then figuring out why did it not work with the people that it didn't get results with. Now, for those people, what happened? Why was I not able to kind of get a result with those? And it was typically because their nervous system wasn't ready and was just trying to do too much too soon. They didn't have the capacity to go through the process. So if you don't have the capacity to go through the process, your body's going to block it. Your body's never going to allow it to happen. Or if it does happen, you may feel so overwhelmed that it re-traumatizes you. And this happens with a lot of people, things like EMDR. It's very, very powerful. But what happens is it can be very, very intense. So it's kind of like the equivalent of doing like an ayahuasca ceremony. You may want to do that once in your life or a handful of times, but it's not really going to be something you want to be using as a strategy to deal with things on a kind of regular kind of basis. And this is why we need to learn, regular practices that you can kind of keep up with. But the way that I've kind of created things is speaking to your body. So what happens now, because I'm speaking to someone's body, I will just literally ask their body, are there any emotions and energy attached to this pattern or towards this experience that was had? And their body will say yes or no. And if it says yes, I say, are you willing to allow the energy, emotions attached to this to be released? Most often the time the body says no. And the most common reason for that is when I ask, I say, is it because your body's fearing being overwhelmed? And I only know that from, working with many people, so that's why I kind of prompt the kind of question now. And they say yes. So I say to them, I say to their body, what I say to every one of my clients, is that what you can actually do is you can set a max intensity for what your body's willing to feel. And obviously your 10 out of 10 is be different to someone else's, but you can set a max intensity for, say, for example, 5 out of 10. And then your body will only allow a 5 out of 10 in intensity amount of energy through your body. Now, what this does is that this means that, and then I ask, are you now ready to start the process? And then the body says yes. And when the body says yes, you'll notice yourself move through that release process, and there's ways to navigate that in a safe way so you never get overwhelmed. It's kind of like I say to people that I could take you to a gym and load up the bench press, load up all the weight on the bar, and I could lift it with you, and it could be successful in terms of you got it from A to B, but you haven't learned anything, you haven't learned any technique, and as soon as I'm not there, you're going to you crush yourself and injure yourself and hurt yourself, and you're never going to want to do it ever again. And you're going to be even, maybe have had, one step forward, but almost 10 steps back. So many people experience when they kind of work with people or do therapy, and they kind of get activated, but then there's no release, and they feel worse symptom-wise. Very, very common experience. So instead, my way of doing it, for those that need it, we always kind of work within whatever someone else's capacity is. But for those that need it, it's like going to the gym and lifting just the bar. And, maybe you're kind of doing almost hardly anything at all. But you're learning really good technique. You're learning how to not injure yourself, not get overwhelmed, and you're learning your body's own capacity. And what happens, I'm there to guide and support if needed, but I'm not doing the work for you. And then as time goes on, as you practice going through the process, guess what? It's like putting on a little bit of weight to the bar, and you're just making that little bit of progress, and over time, you're building your nervous system capacity to actually feel through things. And when that capacity increases, you're releasing bit by bit, and maybe it's a tiny amount, then a bit more, then a bit more, then a bit more, and over time, your ability to hold space for your own feelings and connect to it and release it increases just over time in terms of just as you practice it. And this is the kind of the best way to do it. So, for example, I run a mentorship program. I teach other therapists and coaches my process and my method. And one of the kind of girls that's on the course, she was working through something with me last night. So, kind of the best way to learn is kind of through modeling and mirroring. So, actually, kind of modeling and demonstrating the process. And it got to a point where she'd released some of the sort of stuff that whatever she was working on. And the great thing about this as well is I don't need to even know what the story's about. Often what happens is story, because say for example, if something's happened, it's my perception of the story that's actually most triggering in terms of why I feel how I feel. So actually staying away from the story, in terms of therapy is actually easier for the client in their own experience because they're not getting overwhelmed with the story. I didn't even know what was kind of working on or not sort of too much information, or I don't ask at least. If a client wants to offer that, it's absolutely fine. But it got to the point where her body just said, I'm done. I'm not willing to release anymore. Now, if I was somebody who didn't work with the body and I didn't know how to listen to the body, I may have continued to push. And then that may have been what I've done in the past. And what happens then, it's almost like, because you're not listening to the body, you're actually damaging the relationship with the client, their body. They may not even know it consciously, but they may start thinking they start feeling a little bit less safe with you. And then as they feel less safe, they're not going to open up even more and allow even more energy and more vulnerability to come up. They're going to close up even more. And this can only happen when you're kind of really either acutely aware and very attuned to somebody's body and even noticing the subtle things. But many of these things are happening way outside of your kind of conscious awareness. And your nervous system, your body can pick it up. But doesn't it make life easy if you can just ask their body and the body can say yes or no? And then as soon as the body says that, sometimes I get curious to think, okay, why are you done? Is it just because you need a bit of some space, a bit of time, or you're just done now? And then, just accepting whatever their answer is. But when that energy is inside you, when it's actually moving through your body, it's like your body's actually expressing that energy. So if I just, went for a half an hour run, I'm expressing that energy. I'm going to feel tired after it. So it can actually feel quite exhausting. Again, everybody has a limited amount of capacity to feel through things, and it just gets to that point. But when it does, we've made progress. It doesn't mean that there's a success or fail. There's never a success or fail. It's literally feedback, because we just go, cool, we know where your nervous system's at, we know where your capacity is, and we know that maybe, going slow is the healthiest thing for you, because your body does get to a point sometimes where it's had enough. And everybody's nervous system is different, but how your nervous system works in terms of the solution to it is exactly the same, because your human body is your human body, But yeah, a slow approach and working with somebody who could kind of take time, figure out what your nervous system, and that's what consultation is all about. So the reason why I have a consultation with people to begin with when they want to work with me is to figure out where their nervous system's at. If I know I've got somebody where their nervous system and they feel very safe and they feel ready to just go, whew, I know within a couple of sessions I can get them exactly where they want to be, because their body's ready and they feel safe enough to go through that release process. If they don't have a very good connection with their body and they don't feel very safe to be in their body, it's going to take a lot more time for them to develop the safety within themselves, but also develop the safety with me for them to trust me to lead them through that process. It's a very vulnerable process, and it requires you to really trust the process and surrender into it. So naturally, I'm essentially sometimes a stranger. Like most people don't sort of know me before they work with me, apart from the videos that you're watching in these. Sometimes that takes time to build that trust. But again, everyone's different, and that's why I have that conversation to figure out where your nervous system is at, how your body responds, and then I can give you kind of a rough answer of what that journey looks like for you, what the best solution in terms of the best strategy that I would suggest for you. And what this would do is it will kind of save you a lot of time, energy, and money of wasting time and energy on things that aren't going to work. But also knowing the right approach so you don't get overwhelmed and then have to deal with the outcome of that, of taking 10 steps back. Again, just going through any kind of questions. Will this be saved? Yeah, I'll save it to my kind of profile. How can people lessen their anxiety when stopping drugs or alcohol? Good question. So any addiction, underneath it is anxiety. So all addictions, whether it's an addiction to social media, in terms of phone, it's definitely one of mine. I'm definitely too much of a scroller. Drugs, drink, food, validation and attention from the opposite sex. There's many kind of addictions that we have. And these are just ways that the body self-soothes. So when we can bring some compassion and understanding to wherever it is that you may be kind of strategies or behaviors that you may be noticing within yourself, a question that you can always ask is there a good intention behind this? And behind drinking drugs and alcohol, sometimes there's a lot of shame. People feel very embarrassed, especially if they kind of relapse or slip up. But if you can add a little bit of compassion, you can be a little bit understanding, thinking, wow, my body must be feeling so overwhelmed that my subconscious, my body is gravitating to these things to try to make me feel better and to self-soothe. So what can be really helpful are learning techniques to self-soothe, and that's what self-regulating is. Now, the thing is, it's very hard to learn self-regulation on your own because you have no reference for it. So this is why co-regulation is so important. So co-regulation is essentially, if I'm fully present with you and I'm here with you in this experience, you're going to feel me, you're going to feel my nervous system, and your nervous system is going to relate to mine. Same way, if I walk into a room with someone who's really got the arsehole, I feel the hair standing back up on my neck. I feel the tension in the air. I feel on edge. This is a very common experience that you will all relate to. This is just a response of co-dysregulation. Somebody's dysregulating my nervous system. Or if somebody speaks to you in a particular tone and he gets you back up and you then become defensive and reactive, again, that's co-dysregulation. So co-regulation is essentially me being fully present with you. And then you're going into the stuff of your own feelings and sensations which don't feel safe to you. So your body's going, oh, I don't like this. And me being with you and being very, very okay with that. So it's not like I'm with you and I'm just distracted and I'm just doing nothing. I'm fully with you in your experience. I'm actually more in your experience than you are, and I can feel into it. Essentially, I'm going to feel into what you're feeling. My body's just going to be signaling, hey, this is completely normal. It's completely safe. I don't need to fix you. I don't need to change you. I don't need to stop you from feeling what you're feeling. What you're feeling is exactly what you're meant to be feeling. And it's where sometimes people get stuck because they're trying to run away from the feeling or do a technique to kind of like make it go away. The goal is actually to create safety to feel through the experience, to be in your experience and allow yourself the space. And that's what holding space is about. My ability to hold space is where I've done the work to make myself feel comfortable with those feelings. When you're feeling them, it doesn't trigger anything within me. I'm very, very comfortable with you being there. And then your body goes, that's weird. He can be okay in this experience. Maybe I can. And then with that possibility, that's when change starts to happen. Your body starts to feel safer to move towards it, and you can also move away as well. And then I can teach you how to do that. But in terms of when people care about you, typically family members, things like that, you're moving into a stress state or even a depressed state, so in the yellow or the red zone of your nervous system, and they want you to feel better because seeing a loved one, not being, in a dysregulated state makes them feel dysregulated. Again, because of our kind of co-dysregulation, we're all kind of mirrors to each other. But what essentially that's saying is that's saying, I'm not okay with what you're feeling right now. I want you to change what you're feeling, and then I'll feel better. And it's never meant in this way, but energetically, it's kind of like a rejection to what you're feeling, or even an abandonment if somebody disconnects. Because if they feel so overwhelmed, and if they would feel embarrassed themselves, or they would judge themselves if they was expressing or experiencing what you're experiencing, what their body or their nervous system is going to do is they're going to disconnect in that moment. And they may even sometimes give you advice. So if somebody's hearing about your experience, and generally when we're talking about an issue in our life, there's a story behind it. There is, some actual stuff that's happening. And a lot of times what people do is they'll hear it and they'll tell you, give you advice. Oh, maybe you should try some ice baths, or maybe, have you tried, going for walks and, doing this and doing that. But what that's doing is that's kind of like giving a judgment. It's saying, hey, I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm giving you an answer and I'm giving you a solution. But that's not kind of heart-centered in terms of how you to hold space. Holding space is just being with and inviting you into your body and going deeper into the experience, but creating a safety for you to allow yourself to do that. So in terms of answering that question, learning to self-regulate with somebody that can co-regulate with you, and essentially that's why I created the Monday and Thursday sessions, because then you can jump on. It's only my video. I'm taking myself for exercise, which is my body is then down-regulating and I'm self-regulating. And by doing that, that leads your body, because if your body's watching me, my body's moving towards a green zone and releasing, your body's picking up things that your mind's not even being aware that it's picking up. And this is why we learn through modeling and mirroring, same way that you've picked up many of your parents' patterns that they didn't tell you to do this pattern, but they just modeled it, and now you mirror it. So by me modeling and mirroring how to reconnect to our body, how to regulate, how to release, your body learns that much better than if you did any course, you watched any video, if you read any book. None of that is going to teach you how to reconnect, regulate, and release than actually somebody embodying it and you copying it in terms of you practicing it as well. So obviously practice makes progress, but somebody embodying it at the same time. So this is why the memberships are a very kind of unique experience for what it is. So if they are kind of getting off kind of drinking drugs, ideally I'd work with somebody one-to-one, because there's going to be some trauma. That's the reason why they're using drinking drugs in the first place, to move away from the pain that they've been experiencing. And they need someone to hold space for them, because if they could hold space for themselves, they wouldn't need to drink any drugs. So we heal in connection. So ideally they'd work with somebody one-to-one. If they can't do that for whatever reason, financial reasons and so on, jump on the membership, because it's kind of the next best thing. I've been stuck on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication for 8 years now. I know it's not a fix, it's just like a plaster. How do I get off it and be able to function? Now, I can't give any kind of medical advice in terms of advise you what to do with any medication. I'm not going to. But essentially what the medication does is it makes what you're experiencing, you kind of imagine it like a painkiller. It's a painkiller for your emotions in a way, so it numbs you to what you're experiencing. But because it numbs you to your body, this is why people have libido issues, erection issues, being able to kind of finish issues, and it's because you're kind of less connected to your body. So yeah, maybe you don't feel any of the bad stuff, you don't feel any of the good stuff. You find it hard to just be present, you don't enjoy things anymore because it's kind of disconnecting from it. So if you could have a less of that experience and allow more space and safety to feel the uncomfortable stuff, as you can create more safety, you would need less of that thing. So if you was to slowly reduce and create more safety in your body, what the experience would be is that you would feel, oh my God, I'm coming more into my body. I'm now feeling all these feelings that I wasn't feeling before. This is starting to get uncomfortable. What do I do? Practical solution, learn how to reconnect, to regulate and release. And then as long as you practice those skills, your experience is going to get easier and easier with time. Doesn't mean it's going to fix it. Doesn't mean you're just going to do these exercises and now so you're going to feel better. But your experience is going to get better with time. Same way that if you used to join a gym, if you needed to lose a lot of weight, you're going to get in shape slowly with consistent practice over time. Or building muscle, building strength, exact same thing. You're going to build a bit more muscle. If anyone's built any muscle, they know how long it takes to build muscle. It takes forever. It takes a lot of consistency to see kind of change in your body. Same sort of thing with your nerve system, because your nerve system is your body as well, right? So actually connecting to your body and feeling is a skill. Regulating your nerve system is a skill. Learning to trust your body and release is a skill. but practice makes progress. So that's why I kind of create, like I said, the membership, because it's just rolling. You can come and leave whenever you want, stay as long as you want. You can leave, it's not as if you're not tied into anything, but it's there because it gives you a space where somebody's going to hold space in terms of offer some co-regulation, and you have a dedicated time, so some accountability, just to reconnect your body and practice feeling, where if anything does come up, my nervous system is signaling safety rather than someone else who doesn't really understand what you're experiencing, and then you're experiencing it, and they're like, oh my God, I need to fix you, I need you to be okay. And then your body just goes, and then no release happens, and you practice to disconnect again. So yeah, it's a journey. It is a journey, but again, life is a journey. So and that's what people kind of don't understand. Reynolds says, this never ceases to amaze how the body responds to question asked. Yeah, so Reynolds on the mentorship, and he responded really, really well. It surprised us the other day in terms of, we thought it was just going to connect to the body and just kind of see what unfolded, but his body obviously wanted to release whatever was present, and his body moved through the process really, really well. And this is why the mentorship is about learning the skills, because you can't model those skills for your clients to mirror if you're not really good at going through the release process, because it's not about up here. So that you can have all the degrees in the world. There's many people out there that are more qualified on paper than me. I can guarantee you can hold space a lot better than them. In terms of, I'm a lot more kind of present in my body and connected. Not always. I'm sure there's many people out there that's way more connected than myself. But and just the way what I'm trying to express is that it's not really about what's up here. It's about what's in here. And if you can make somebody feel safe to go into themselves and go through the process, that's the most important skill. And like I said, that's why I kind of have my consultation in the first place, because it's more chance for you to just get a feel of your body. Actually connect with me and talk to me and see how you feel. You may feel that for whatever reason you don't like me and you don't feel whatever. That's okay, because that safety needs to be there for me to actually give you a result. And like I said, I'm never gonna. There's never any hard sales. It's not I'm chasing people up, but you have to feel ready to go through the process, because like I said, you're going to get out of it as much as you're willing to put in. I can guarantee some outcome and success if you're willing to guarantee the output, the input. Sorry, I can guarantee the output in terms of what happens on the other side of things. You have to be willing to go through the process. How would you help with someone who struggles with internal chat? Again, that internal chat is in your head. So what's the first step of the process? Reconnect to the body. That means get out of your head and into your body. So for you, this may be going for a walk. It may be having a shower. It may be doing some dance. It may be having sex. It may be exercise. Or if you want something that's a little bit more focused, you can practice some somatic exercises which get you into your body. But at the same time as it gets you into your body, it creates safety. That's the other thing. If you're not signaling safety and you're coming into your body, you're then going to just connect to whatever doesn't feel safe. And then that's going to overwhelm you again. And sometimes then that just reinforces the pattern. So things that if anything you enjoy is going to be a really good thing. So anything you're passionate about that you really enjoy, that's embodied, that gets you moving or just gets you into your body, is going to be a great thing to do. Other than that, it's things that create some safety, or at least with somebody else who can co-regulate you and lead you into your body and create that safety. Again, it's just a skill. You may not be very good at it now, but practice makes progress. Like I said, I'm probably not very good at things that I've never practiced. Same that most people haven't practiced getting out of the head and getting into the body, in terms of actually focusing on that intention. Not just, oh, I was in my body because I was doing some sport, but that wasn't your intention in that moment. If you practice an intention in terms of an intentioned outcome, you get good at the outcome because you're practicing that skill. But that's, again, you can join the somatic self-care sessions for free. It's a free 2-week trial. You can give it a go. You're going to get out of it as much out of it as you're willing to put into it. So if you fully commit to the sessions and turn up to the 4 live sessions that you get with the 2-week pass, practice the exercises outside of sessions as well, or watch any of the replays in your own time, you're going to feel 1,000,000 times better within 2 weeks. And then you're just going to build on it, and you're going to get more out of it as you put into it. If you're around someone who is dysregulated, can this affect your own system? Yes, 100%. Sometimes that makes things very difficult. So typically, a man's nervous system is going to feel way more intense and threatening than a female's nervous system, because if a man's in that stress state, he's also in that fight mode, just a fight and flight mode. So it typically makes people feel irritated, annoyed, frustrated, or scared, anxious, worried, nervous. It's the fight and flight, anxious and angry sort of thing. Now, life is stressful, and if you're not taking care of your nerve system and releasing that energy, it's going to bleed out onto everyone else around you. Typically, from man to woman and to children, and then from woman to man as well, and to children. But then the children are kind of like at the bottom. The children's role isn't to learn how to release or to release the family's energy. Ultimately, it's the person who has the highest ability. That's one of the reasons as well that what I've recognized working a lot of female clients is that I've said to many of them, if I actually worked with your partner, you would actually have a much better outcomes, because then they would be able to co-regulate with you and just know what's in that moment. The reason why most people can't co-regulate either themselves or other people is just a lack of awareness and a lack of practice of the skill. If you practice the skill, you're just going to get better and better at it. So it's something that you can learn to kind of practice yourself, and something that somebody else can learn. But yes, naturally is quite difficult, and all you can do, and you can, if you self-regulate, and you will be taking on some of their stress and releasing it. Essentially, that's kind of like what I do with my job, really, because I'm very good at releasing. I'm connecting with my clients, and I'm taking on a lot of their kind of energy, and I'm able to release it, which one helps unloads their the weight of what they're carrying on themselves, but it also then models for them, oh, this is how we release. Again, this is happening all outside of our conscious awareness. I'm not sort of thinking, let me practice and show this to them, but their bodies, that's how we kind of pick things up. So you can learn to help, but if you're dealing with your own stresses as well as somebody else's stresses, or even loads of people's stresses, in terms of loads of kids or lots of stuff going on in your life, or even for many therapists and coaches that are taking on, myself included, if I'm not doing enough work with somebody else, I'm having someone else hold space for me, I get really kind of just less regulated and less present and less able to keep myself regulated, and then I'm not able to hold space for people around me, my clients, and so on. So everybody needs space held for them. It doesn't matter who you are. There's no kind of guru out there that doesn't have a nervous system, but you need to have your own practices yourself, that you need to keep yourself and your body in tip-top healthy shape and well released and well regulated, but also people that you can lean on that can help you to regulate as well. Should I leave my job where I am in my head, on my own head most of the day? No, I'm not going to tell you to kind of leave your job. Some jobs are like that. So if you're at a desk job, if you're not moving, it's very easy to kind of get stuck in your head. Versus if you was like, I don't know, doing a trade where you're kind of digging all day long and you're kind of building something, or you're doing something visually and creating something, it's a very creative process. It's a very embodied process. So if you was like a dancer or something like that, it's very hard because you've got to focus on what you're doing than kind of being in your head. But when you're doing a lot of activities which don't require either too much kind of focus or attention or brain power, or even if it does require brain power, that needs you to be in your head, you don't really need to be in your body. Naturally, you're going to be in your body, in your head a lot more. All I would suggest is just practice more things that get you into your body and keep consistent. Anxiety is about two things. Anxiety, there's only ever two options of anxiety. Taking action, and often there's an action that needs to be taken in terms of something that actually needs to be changed, like an actual practical solution, or acceptance. And acceptance is accepting what you're experiencing, being able to reconnect, regulate, and release it. So again, I'm not going to tell you to leave the job, but definitely practice some somatic sort of exercises. Again, just moving through kind of questions. Thanks for sharing. It's so interesting. You're very welcome. Everyone's kind of joining. Cool. So I've answered all the questions. If anybody is still here, so there's 12 of you kind of here. If you do have any questions or anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I'll go get some food. There's Dawn, Reynolds, Elaine, Ivo, Georgina, good to see Georgina, Michelle, Katie, Christy, Martin, Anita, and Amy. Hope you guys are well. Yeah, anybody has any questions? There's no such thing as a silly question. Like, the reason why I've actually been able to grow in terms of get to where I am and understand what I know is because I've always been a person in any kind of course I've ever done or any kind of coaching course or whatever. I've always been a person that's asked the silly questions or not being afraid to ask questions. Anything you don't know, the more you can see things as being a forever learner. You never know enough. Like the most knowledgeable, one of the people that I really look up to, he mentioned to me the other day when he was holding some space for me, and he was like, he recognizes how much he doesn't know about this work. I'm like, God, if you recognize how much you don't know about this kind of healing stuff, I feel like I really don't know what I'm talking about then. but he said is all you can look at is how exciting is that there's so much more stuff that you can learn and grow and develop from knowing that. So yeah, never feel afraid. Like there's no such thing as failure. It's literally feedback and information. I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety. Does somatic therapy help with this? Yeah, so generalized anxiety means that your body's just stuck in the yellow zone. Body's stuck in activation. So a less dysregulated version of this would be, say, for example, somebody who only has a phobia for one thing. Other than that, they don't experience any kind of activation randomly. They're not experiencing anxiety on a day-to-day basis. But there'll be one thing that then triggers them into that kind of heightened anxiety, so that fight and flight state. Generalized anxiety disorder, many things, they see it as generalized, but really it just means that your nervous system, is more dysregulated or less regulated, however you want to kind of imagine it. Excuse me. So yeah, the answer is the same. No matter what anxiety is, it just means that you're further along or wherever you are on the spectrum in terms of the severity of what you experience. Like I said, some at this end may only experience anxiety when they have one phobia. Other than that, they never experience anxiety at all. Other people are stuck in survival mode day in, day out, and they can't escape it. They're literally living in their own personal hell. Most people are kind of somewhere in the middle, and obviously everyone else is kind of between. But the answer is still the same. Practicing the ability to reconnect, regulate, and release. Now, somebody that at this end of the scale, who's more connected to their body or feels safe to connect to their body, they're going to get easier results than somebody at this end of the scale. Someone who has a diagnosis or a history of complex PTSD, they're going to feel a lot harder to connect to their body. There's going to be a lot less trust. There's going to be a lot less compassion for themselves and ability to receive love. And they are all things that you need to go through the release process. So they'll take a lot sort of more time, and it will take a little bit more of a slower approach. But the answer is the same. Like, if you're alive and you're still breathing, you need to be doing this work. Because the outcome from doing this is you're going to have more control over your emotions and yourself. You can have better relationships with both yourself and everybody around you. Your communication is going to improve, and you're just going to grow and grow and grow as a person. Anything that's kind of like that you're not succeeding in your life, it's typically because either you're not taking action towards it because your nervous system is too overwhelmed, or you're fearing any kind of negative outcome, and that's not necessarily about the situation of how outcome, but how you would feel. It's always about the feelings about the situations. But this is why we need to learn how to master emotions and master nervous systems. What are your sessions about Monday and Thursday and what time? So Monday and Thursday at 8 p.m. I'm just taking myself through somatic exercises. So I'm practicing the 3 skills of reconnecting to body. So you're going to get out of your head and get into your body. You're then going to learn how to create safety and signal safety in your body, and that's going to regulate your nervous system, turn off the anxiety alarm. And then you're going to notice whatever you're feeling, and then if you can create enough safety, you're going to then practice releasing. Like I said, think of it as like one-to-one sessions, like PT sessions. They're telling you what to do, they're guiding you through it, and you don't even have to think or do anything like that. As long as you do what you're told, essentially, and follow the process, you're going to get results. Your results, if you're working with a personal trainer, most personal trainers know what they're talking about, but it's going to come down to how much you're putting in and sticking to the process. The group sessions, even though I say it's a group session, you can't see anyone else, nobody can see you can only sort of see me. It's kind of like doing classes. You're still going to get an outcome. It's still going to be effective. You're still going to be practicing the exercises, but you're not going to get as much help in terms of you're not going to go quite as deep, and it's not going to be personalized exactly for you. So I'm not going to be able to sort of do that, but I can. What I'm doing again is I'm teaching you a skill. The more you practice the skill, the easier it becomes. There's a few people on here that are long-time members. Georgina's actually been with me since I kind of started it about 4 years ago, I think now. And I'm sure she will tell you that it's helped to no end in terms of it's just a way to stay less stressed in your life. It's going to be healthier than drinking drugs or whatever kind of gambling or whatever addiction that you have. So it's just, again, if you stop brushing your teeth and washing, you're going to start to stink and your teeth are going to fall out. If you stop exercising and eating healthy, you're going to become a fat slob. If you don't do enough time, take enough time to connect your body, regulate and release, you're going to end up with anxiety and depression. Like it's just a way it's just recognizing that there's certain needs that we have that we weren't aware that we had before. And this is just a way for you to, again, my way is not the only way, but it's a way that I've created that if you follow it, I know I can guarantee your outcome because so many people come before you and we've refined things until we've got the outcome. Like I said, you don't have to work with me. There can be many sort of things that you can do, but I promise you that if you put the work in, you're going to get the result. Maybe not the result that you want in terms of as valuable as the one-to-one stuff, in terms of doing the somatic self-care session Monday and Thursday. But I guarantee if you put the energy into it, you're going to get results. Hi, thank you, and you. I have health anxiety. I'm petrified of leaving my children after losing my mum as a child. How can I overcome this? The slightest health trigger can spiral me. So health anxiety can be linked to death. Grief is going to be a huge contributor to anxiety. Grief's funny in the UK. We all try to be strong for the rest of the family by trying to hold and contain all our energy and our stress and our vulnerability and keep it all together as we're kind of reading the eulogy or, speaking to everyone at the funeral. The healthiest thing that we could do when we lose somebody, and obviously it's a little bit difficult as a child, but as adults, is actually all come together and just go through a grieving process where we're all there supporting each other, we're all there loving each other, we're all just allowing like actual space. But this is why I say that we learn through modeling and mirroring. So if you grow up without healthy, vulnerable expression or good emotional mastery or emotional intelligence, your family are not going to have that unless they've done a lot of self-work and done somatic work like this. So naturally, when things like funerals happen or deaths happen, again, everyone's staying contained and everyone's modeling and mirroring the same behavior. Somebody has to kind of go first. And sometimes like that's why, right? If you break down in tears and somebody else is also feeling the same way, they then mirror you. Why? Because we're human beings that model mirror each other. We connect in that moment because we're showing our true authenticity, and that's how we connect. But as a child, naturally, as you have children, you start to triggers your childhood traumas based on the years that you had those things. So for example, if you lost your mum as a 5-year-old, as your child's becoming that age, you're starting to recognize, wow, oh my God, I can't believe I was so fragile and so vulnerable, and I had this experience, and you know how it made you feel. And because those feelings are so intense, the energy of that is so intense, your body then creates anxiety. All anxiety and all depression is too much energy stuck inside your body that's now trapped. And your body's trying to contain it the best way it can. But if you learn how to safely control it and release it, that's how you work through it. And that's how you heal trauma. But again, you have to, make sure you're working with someone who knows what they're doing. And a lot of time that comes with just experience of doing a lot of the wrong things for a long time. Like I said, I've made my share of mistakes and I've kind of learned sometimes the hard way. But I've always been willing to learn, always been willing to have the best intentions. But again, be careful who you work with. But you can work for that. So that'd be a very, very common experience and the thing that my clients would work with. Health anxieties can also just be linked to basically, health anxiety is basically, it can be like an internal focus of, oh, I'm noticing this sensation, and then now my body's triggering the alarm against that. So I always say to people, it's not what you're feeling that's the problem. What you're feeling is okay. It's your nervous system's reaction to that feeling. So for example, if, that anxiety feeling is kicking in, often the experience of anxiety, the dry mouth, the nausea, the dizziness, the heartbeat beating faster, the heartbeat beating more intense in your chest, the breathing getting quick and feeling that tightness in your chest, and all those symptoms are very, very normal symptoms of your nervous system moving into sympathetic activation, what I call the yellow zone, the fight and flight state. But then, because you don't know that, your body then freaks out about that. So then that triggers the response, and then that makes the response even stronger, and then it's just spiraling, and it's just spiraling more and more and more. So again, with health anxiety, it's mostly your body's having a response. That's what all anxiety is really. Your body's having a response and your body's freaking out about that thing. So it can be an internal focus, but often if somebody has a health anxiety, I'll say, have you lost anyone? Or have you experienced as a child your parents being ill or fearing losing them? Sometimes people haven't lost someone, but maybe one of the parents was really ill when they was younger and they was really scared and felt that they may have kind of abandoned or left them. So again, very, very normal, completely understand why you're experiencing and feeling what you're feeling. Very, very common, especially with children as well, in terms of, again, watching that mirroring happening between yourself and your child or your daughter. I'd invite you to, if you want to have a conversation or have a conversation with me, more than welcome to. But that's something that we could 100% heal, and then that would stop you from essentially kind of passing that on to your child or your children. Not a question, but wanting to say thank you. Even that truth that those out of control thoughts and feelings are in your head. So you need to get back into your body, and that's so helpful. Yeah, so you're not going to outthink anxiety, because if you could outthink anxiety, everybody with anxiety would have mastered anxiety by now, because we're like the best overthinkers. I'm very much a thinker. I'm not naturally embodied. I'm personality type in terms of the 16 personalities to Myers-Briggs personality type. I'm in INTJ, And that's like the most rational, logical kind of thinking brain who's kind of not connected to their heart or their body at all. So for me, if I can learn this stuff and I can become emotionally intelligent, or at least semi-emotionally intelligent, anybody can. But again, it's just practicing your kind of your weaknesses. We're great thinkers. If anxiety was solved by thinkers, we'd have solved it and we'd be like, yeah, cool, completed that. But the issue isn't thinking, it's feeling, and that's it's just working on the skills that you need to work on. You're very welcome. So true, absolutely been God sent for me. I feel so much better, and it's now part of my daily routine. So that was Georgina. So thank you, Georgina. Again, always appreciate your membership. Why is his face moving like that? I'm scared. I don't know what happened. My camera almost, I think it's like mirrored my face, but my nose, like, I don't know what's happening with that. Sorry, I'm not an alien, I promise. I know, right? Something's off. Yeah, I don't know whether I've pressed the button that's put a filter on it. If I have, apologies. Let's see. Is that? Yeah, that's better. Cool. I don't know how that must have turned on. I've been putting some weird, crazy filter on, but apologies if I did look like some crazy person. No one commented what you just read out. Yeah, he did. It's just slow. So yeah, I mean, very normal. Again, anxiety can make you kind of a bit kind of paranoid, but yeah, apologies. So my battery's about to die. Been on for about an hour now. So if you want to kind of give it a go, if you sign up, there's a 2-week trial. If you click on the link in my bio, if you want to give the membership thing a go, there's a 2-week trial. So worst case scenario, you give it a go, you get the outcome, you feel better. And if you don't want to get involved, that's fine. It's £49 after that, but just literally tell me you want to cancel, and I'll just cancel. If it charges you before you tell me, in terms of if you tell me within that time frame, I'll refund it, not an issue. But tomorrow night at 8 p.m, I'm going to be demonstrating what this somatic release method looks like on a one-to-one basis. So if anybody wants to kind of jump on and me lead them, again, it doesn't have to be an outcome in terms of, how you doing, Elaine? Again, another kind of one of the members. You don't have to have an outcome. So it's not like you're performing for me. So literally, there's no such thing as failure. It's just feedback, and it's just demonstrating what's going to happen when you connect your body in a very safe way, in a controlled way, and how you can do it that way, rather than going back to your childhood, where you're digging things up with talk therapy, and then you're getting super dysregulated. Then now your symptoms are even worse because the therapists have brought it up in you, but they've not helped you to release it because you don't have the capacity and you haven't learned that skill yet. So this is how you can do things a lot sort of safer. Same if there's any kind of therapists watching this or coaches, come along and watch, and I'm sure you may find it valuable. So if anybody is watching this live, thank you for kind of sharing this kind of space with me this time. And if you're watching this on a replay, well done, because it's been about an hour long, and hopefully you find it valuable. So again, I'll see you guys soon. Take care.